What if you were promised safety? What if you were promised community? What if you were promised a better life behind those suburban fences and those red doors? But what if I told you the places that were built to provide and protect us are now leaving us more isolated, stressed, anxious, and alone? What if I told you that the real future wasn't in the urban sprawl, but in the heart of our own cities? This is a story about a generation raised by screens and separated by more than just time. This is a story of the quiet revolution that is taking place at our front door. Come with me on this journey as we discuss the future of our children and how we can better understand the communities that we are a part of. I promise there is more to be had in this conversation than just doom and gloom. So stay tuned. The screen generation has emerged. It's emerged out of, some would say, thin air, right? It occurred so quickly. But if we think of all of the technological and innovations that we've had over the last centuries, we have seen a quick change in the way we live life. Things move quicker and quicker the faster these innovations come along. Today, the average American spends more than 7 hours of screen time on any device, regardless if it's a smartphone, computer, or a tablet. And that's not just because of schoolwork. Our children take the brunt of how much screen time they use, slightly exceeding those numbers. But not all screen time is created equal. And, not to mention, the state of Utah is an interesting outlier in the national average, with an average screen time of around 5 hours per individual. And, not to mention, in our cities, where you would think screen time would be higher, it is substantially lower at around 3 hours of screen time per child. How can we track this data, you might ask? Well, unfortunately, to put it simply, large corporations like to buy and sell data, and because of that, all of this information is now public knowledge. However, we can use that to our advantage. Let's talk about how we can move forward from here. Let's talk about why it is that our city centers are better suited to handle people in our changing environments. Well, first of all, they are walkable, they are connected, and downtown life competes with screens in a way that no one could possibly imagine. With the increased amount of virtual reality headsets that are out there on the market, you cannot go too far in downtown Salt Lake without seeing someone using VR, even in a park. As weird as that sounds, that is a wonderful opportunity to be both in nature and connect with the technology of today. But with that being said, screens have become conveniences for these suburbs, whereas in the cities, it's become adapted to the way of life. We have a crisis of isolationism, and it's not just, lonely men, as a lot of news networks want to point out, although that is true. And it's not just women having too many high standards, and it's not the LGBT community asking for too much. The suburbs were intended to be a place of refuge, a place to hide after the 9 to 5, spend time with your family, and build relationships with your neighbors. Those days have been gone for quite a while. In Salt Lake City, you're not going to believe this, but housing has come down in price. Don't get me wrong, it is still expensive. But it wasn't that long ago that the price between a city condo and a single-family home were vastly different, and you could easily afford the suburban life versus the urban life. It is now a polar shift where the cities are becoming more walkable, they're becoming safer, they're becoming more adaptable, and they're easier on the family and the budget. When did this happen? You could blame COVID, you could blame greedy landlords, you could blame greedy people in the construction industry as a whole, but that is selling all of this short. But all of this proves to show that the cities are the silver lining in all of this. We're going to be talking about some darker numbers here for a minute, so please bear with me. Youth suicides are through the roof nationwide, and it is a tragic event that occurs daily. And as much as I'd like it to stop, I'm only one person, and I can only do so much. But I do want to provide you with the information that we do have. So the statistics are that out of 100,000 kids, 26 of them tragically take their lives. And that is between 10 and 17-year-olds. Think about the young people that are in your life. How many people is that? That's quite a few. Salt Lake County alone has 1.2 million residents within its borders. Between Salt Lake, Davis, and Utah County, there are just shy of 2 million people living in those borders. Shouldn't we be getting along? Shouldn't we be learning how to help people? And the worst part about it is that our numbers are nearly double the national average. So what can we do about these things? It's not so much that we need to focus on the environment, but we also need to focus on the hidden costs of what this urban sprawl actually is. Urban sprawl gave us the 9-to-5 work week. It gave us the opportunity to connect with new people. It gave us the opportunity to plan and save for a retirement, and it gave us the opportunity to send our kids to school. Unfortunately, those days are slipping right out of our hands. The suburban growth that was once a symbol of prosperity, success, has now become a symbol of debt, loneliness, and depression. Many families feel the burden of the loss of time spent with their loved ones. The differences in cities and the differences in suburbs are quite drastic. Suburban living was supposed to be cheap. It was supposed to be sustainable. And unfortunately, at this point in time, that is no longer the case. There is an LGBTQ divide. If you are unaware, a lot of the LGBT community seems to be under attack due to current, we'll say, political leaders that find certain things offensive. As I've mentioned in my other videos, we exist, we are here, and we aren't going anywhere. There are so many more opportunities for our LGBTQ youth that it isn't even funny. Salt Lake City has about 78% more support opportunities versus the suburbs at 54%. A poll was conducted by multiple school districts asking how they felt supported if they were a part of the LGBT community. Salt Lake City proudly reported that 78% of their student body was being supported by their teachers and their local community, whereas in the suburbs, only 54% felt safe and supported. It isn't just what is happening in our country, it is also the tragedy of what is happening in these suburbs. These suburbs make up a majority of these suicides in our youth, and a significant portion of them are part of the LGBT community. What a lot of people don't know is that LGBTQ youth commit 4 times the amount of suicides than their straight peers. I think that being inclusive and affirming and being able to care for the next generation in a healthy way not only allows people to be who they are, but it saves lives. Why am I bringing up the LGBT community so much in my recent videos? It's because of the sheer fact that we have gone from having ample rights, support, and we are now in a place where we find that support being taken away, being almost forcibly ripped out of our hands. You can rewrite history as much as you want, but that doesn't make you any better than the unfortunate burning of the Library of Alexandria. In fact, I would say it's probably just as bad. City living has reduced the amount of screen time that most people have in their daily lives, and it's not a small coincidence. It's the way it's built into the system. On average, those who live in the city spend around 18 minutes one way commuting to work, whereas the suburban counterparts, regardless if you live in Utah County, Davis County, or even at times in Sully County, your commutes can vary, but the average commute time for the average Utahn living in the suburbs is 42 minutes. And that's one direction. This ain't that kind of beautiful though. At 42 minutes, that is just shy of an hour and a half lost every day, 5 days a week. If you work Saturdays and weekends, the countless hours lost are immeasurable in the development of our young people. But the cities, they have something very, very different. In their infrastructure and the way they are set up, they are continuously adding new ways, not just to connect with neighbors and people in your communities, but they're constantly adding ways to get around in safer ways. For example, most Utahns rely on tracks and front runner. For the suburbs, there are approximately 3 track stops per mile, whereas in the city core, there are almost 3 times that amount. That is significant. Why is that significant? Because that means you do not need to drive. My husband and I are ironically looking at moving in to downtown Salt Lake City. Why are we looking at this move? One, we want to be a part of a community that's bigger than ourselves. And we also want to be environmentally conscious. Cities are often referred to as the least environmentally friendly part of any community. I would argue that at this point, the suburbs have taken the city's place, as trash cans and recycling stations have been spread throughout the downtown metro area. Not to mention, even some of the surrounding neighborhoods, such as the Avenues and Sugar House, embrace the same idea of environmental protectionism. This is wonderful. As we adapt and we move towards a greener future, a lot of these cities are adapting not just to the constraints of the technologies of today, but they're moving with the intention of trying to protect the natural surroundings as much as possible. Even though the skyline may change, the environment around us needs to stay clean. It is amazing and remarkable what these cities have done. With all of this hope being poured into our cities, we should embrace our urban neighbors instead of shun them. How often is it that you go to a town meeting in your suburb, let's say South Jordan or Bluffdale, and how often do they criticize the city center? Quite often. I had noticed that in a recent city council meeting that I had attended in Bluffdale, that a lot of the notes that were taken were talking about how they can restrict the amount of building occurring in their city and not developing new ways to build community, but finding ways to keep things the same. That seems really backwards. As people age, as people mature, and as new generations take the reins of different parts of government and our environment, don't we want to encourage people to think different, to be different, and don't we want to encourage a better future? If that's the case, why are we holding on to the past? Why are we retaining bad ideas that we know destroy families. In the cities, you have many, many unfortunate events that take place that do drive families apart. But I would say that outweighs the amount of different festivals and family gatherings that occur every single day in our beautiful capital. Some of these events include painting at the park, art fairs. We have wonderful opportunities to showcase our patriotism at our state capitol, all within walking distance of the city core. Not to mention the wonderful the wonderful farmers markets that don't just occur during the summer, but the winter markets and the fall markets and the springtime extravaganza. I can't remember the name of these, but there are so many different events that take place. We should just be proud to have a city that is this clean and this beautiful, surrounded by the most majestic mountains this country has. In closing, I just want to share my final thoughts here. I am not anti-suburb. I grew up in the suburbs. They are wonderful, wonderful places where people can come together, learn from one another, and most importantly, they are wonderful at, showcasing what we can create. With all of the new construction taking place, new innovations are a reality. New way of doing things, new designs, new styles. This is a wonderful opportunity to showcase your creative bug. But on the backside of this, the problem with the suburbs is that they are relying on a limited resource, which is space. And unfortunately, we're running out of it. Yes, does the state own a lot of land? Does the federal government own even more land? Absolutely. But it does not give us the right as stewards of this green earth to destroy every single mountain, level every single forest in order to build a neighborhood. We have wasted so much space by building mini mansions and homes over 3,000 square feet. If you look nationwide, the average home size is smaller than the average home size in the state of Utah. And that's probably a video for another day. But on a positive side, the answers are all right in front of us. If we want to help the next generation, all we need to do is listen to our kids, listen to our neighbors, have conversations, go to events, and enjoy the communal gathering spaces. This is an opportunity to build bridges and not burn them. And, it's crazy to me that we have come to a point in a society that we care more about cheap Chinese goods than we do about walking out the door and going down the street to a local gazebo or fair or even a farmer's market. There are so many opportunities that we just take for granted. Almost every city, especially in the suburbs of Salt Lake County, offer farmers markets. And I've been to quite a few of them. But they're not even remotely in the same ballpark as the one in Salt Lake City. So, with all of these things being said, I think that we have all that we need. So in closing, I'm not saying that the suburban way of living is a bad way to live, but what I am saying is that the answers to solving the issues that are taking place in the suburbs are closer than you think. And all we have to do is look at our urban neighbors in order to learn from them. If you think these ideas are great and worth sharing, put your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know if you guys are considering moving to downtown Salt Lake City. Let me know if Utah is home and you're proud to call this your state, regardless of your religious affiliation, your sexual orientation, or any other belief. Thank you so much for sticking with me this entire video. And if you wouldn't mind giving this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. And until next time, it's been my coffee corner, and I'll catch you on the next one.